I just want to take a few moments of your time to talk about law, dignity, and truth as a call to our African family. There's a story that's currently being told about South Africa across the world. It's a story of widespread violence against African foreign nationals in our country. It's a story of a country that's turning its back on the continent that once stood with it during the dark days of apartheid. But that story, at least in its current form, is not entirely true. Yes, there has been some violence. Yes, there has been some tensions between locals and foreign nationals, especially from the African continent. There was a recent incident of violence that was recorded in Durban recently. It cannot be denied, and it must be condemned in the strongest terms, without any hesitation. Violence, you see, against any human being, regardless of nationality or status, is unacceptable. But beyond that incident, much of what is circulating online, I've seen some of these videos that I get from people I know, different parts of the world, it's not the current reality. There are some old videos that are resurfacing from months ago, even some years old, okay? They're being reshared, they're being repackaged and presented as if they're happening right now. And in doing so, they're painting a picture of South Africa that is simply not accurate in my view. This distortion, of course, has consequences. Governments across the continent, from Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, are rightly so reacting. Influential voices are being heard calling for action against South Africa from places like Angola, for example. Even the international community, through the United Nations, has been expressing its concern. And suddenly, South Africa is being seen as some kind of a pariah. But let us pause and speak honestly. As Africans to Africans, many of us remember those days, those years of struggle against apartheid. We remember exile. We remember solidarity. I speak not as an observer or a commentator, but as someone who lived through it. I left Soweto when I was 19 years old and found a home in exile in Mozambique. I arrived there without documents, but I did not remain undocumented. I presented myself at a local Frelimo office, which then guided me how to register my presence legally in the country. I was given legal status. I worked there. I lived within the laws of the then People's Republic of Mozambique, as it was called in 1975. Mozambique did not owe me that. They chose to extend solidarity, but within a framework of order and legality. That distinction matters. Today we face a different reality. South Africa is a democratic state since 1994, governed by a constitution that's admired across the world, governed by the rule of law. And in that context, no one, no matter where they come from, has the right to enter this country illegally and remain in the country outside of the law that exists. That is not xenophobia. It cannot be regarded as xenophobia in my humble view. It is sovereignty. Now, at the same time, let us also be honest about the pressures on the ground. We're a country battling deep structural challenges inherited from apartheid, poverty, inequality, unemployment. It's persistently high. I don't even remember the latest percentage, the rate of unemployment in the country, but it's very high. And more than 60% of those who are unemployed in South Africa today are young South Africans, majority of whom are female. They are women. Now, those are the numbers. In that environment, obviously, competition for opportunity, competition for resources becomes intense. Okay, tensions arise not because people are inherently hostile, okay, But because the system itself is currently under strain, our economy has not been growing that much for quite some time in order to create the necessary productivity and necessary jobs for everybody in the country. Now, you add to that reality often the uncomfortable thing to speak about, that there are undocumented individuals who operate businesses, spaza shops, in many townships in this country, spaza shops that used to belong to South Africans before. And they are doing so sometimes outside regulatory frameworks. They are not registered. Therefore, they don't pay tax. The government needs tax to be able to develop the country, to be able to fund healthcare, to be able to fund education. Okay, now this creates friction. This creates friction. It's not always justified, but it's understandable that there will be such friction. So where does that leave us, African brothers and sisters? Well, it leaves us with a responsibility. It's a big responsibility on all sides. Firstly, to my fellow citizens, South Africans, violence is not the answer. It cannot be the answer. It has never been. It undermines our moral standing, not just locally, regionally, continentally, but globally. It undermines our constitutional values. To our African brothers and sisters, of course you are welcome to South Africa. You've always been welcome, truly. But welcoming you must not be anchored in undermining of our laws as a republic. It must be anchored in respect for the laws of this country. Documentation is not a formality. It is the foundation of order, of accountability, and mutual trust. To governments and commentators across the continent and elsewhere in the world, please engage with facts. Inform yourself with the facts. Not viral content, not hearsay, not recycled images, not narratives that inflame rather than inform. And perhaps the most important question we must ask ourselves is, what kind of Africa are we trying to build today? Not for us, for future generations as well. My grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. Is it one where movement across borders is possible but governed? Or one where disorder becomes the norm and then resentment follows? What kind of Africa do we want to build? Because let us be frank, just as an example, if millions of us South African citizens were to enter other Africans in our big numbers, undocumented, unlawfully today, would that be accepted without question in West Africa, in East Africa, in North Africa, in Central Africa, any part of the continent? Would it really be accepted? That is not a call. What I'm talking about is not a call for exclusion. It's a call that we must respect order, we must treat one another with dignity, and we must be truthful in our interactions as fellow Africans, fellow African brothers and sisters. South Africa is not perfect. None of us are perfect. We all got kinds of different challenges. But it is not the caricature. South Africa is not the caricature that's currently being projected. It's not an intolerant country, South Africa. Let us correct the record. Look at the facts. Let us lower the temperature. And let us deal with this matter not through anger, through rumor mongering, but through honesty and leadership. Each and every one of us is a leader in our spaces. Let us show that courageous, honest, bold leadership. We owe each other that much as Africans, this great continent of our forefathers and our foremothers. We stood together in many struggles, anti-colonial struggles, anti-apartheid struggles. Let us now stand together in truth in building a better South Africa for its citizens, a better continent for all Africans. Thank you for listening. Grace and peace.